Vulnerability is the first thing that comes to my mind. When we show who we are, and vulnerability doesn't have to be, I've told you all of my family saga and drama, every ailment, every medication I'm on. Like, it doesn't have to be something like that, but you share a concern or a fear or something where people see you as a human being. I think that drives connection. When you feel connected to somebody, you are more likely to help them, to get to know them, to spend time. If you feel somebody is inauthentic or disingenuous, or they want to get to know you so they can use you for whatever their purpose is, your guard's going to be up. So I think just that vulnerability is huge.
Welcome to the Your Seat at the Table podcast with your hosts, Idea Monkey Mike Maddock and ringleader John Tobin. We're two founders, a serial entrepreneur and a billion-dollar operator, who talk to leaders about how, when, and why they made their most pivotal decisions in life. Join us as we share wisdom, mistakes, and a few laughs, learning from the brightest minds in business today. Welcome to the Your Seat at the Table podcast. Today is a good day because I get to chat with my buddy, Molly Blomquist. She's a terrific fit for this podcast because she sits at the intersection of negotiation, security, psychology, and, wait for it, entrepreneurship. Most CEOs don't need to know how to interrogate terrorists. Molly does. I'll let her tell you about that. But they absolutely need to know how to read people, negotiate under pressure, assess risk, make better decisions. Molly's experience leading security initiatives in Iraq, Pakistan, and other high-threat environments gives her a perspective that very few business leaders will ever encounter until today. Welcome, Molly.
Well, Mike, thanks for having me on. And after you learned about my past, thanks for not running away. So it's a
Well,
pleasure and an honor to be here.
I like to hold danger and friendship in two different hands. Before I get to say this, I've seen you in front of a room of some of the most respected CEOs that I know, and you really are good at holding people's attention, making them feel appropriately uncomfortable and making them laugh at the same times. It's a real gift. So if anybody who's listening to this, I'm afraid I'm going to forget to plug your ability on stage. You're really good. And if you're looking for a speaker that talks about some really cool stuff, that's useful, Molly's your person. So Molly, before we get to questions, and I've got lots of them, just can you tell us how you wound up interrogating terrorists and starting a business? How did you get here?
Well, it's a great question, and it doesn't have a direct answer. Yeah, I grew up in southeastern Ohio, so very, very rural, still is to this day. Not a lot of opportunities that aren't blue collar. And I had my grandmother's brother would come to visit, and he lived in Northern Virginia. He was an FBI agent. And so when he would visit my grandmother, he would tell all these tales of FBI stories of back in the time, and this is, pretty dated. He was catching bank robbers and catching all this crime. And as you can imagine, you're growing up with cows and cornfields. We had a stop sign in my town, no stoplights, because
Yeah.
it's just so small. And hearing about this was just a portal to a world that was unknown to me. So I was just very interested in government service because I viewed it as a way to see the world. And so fast forward, I ended up joining the U.S. government, which I've been with in some fashion, whether a contractor or a staff employee, for almost 30 years now, which now makes me feel old, dating myself. And it's been an incredible journey. And my first assignment was doing interrogations and polygraphs for the government. So it was one of those things that you don't, I think, ever aspire to. You wake up and say that, but that's what I was assigned to do. And to make a very long story short, over the time of that, the skills that you learn of interviewing, patience, reading people, assessing rooms, learning how to control rooms, how to control questions. It's negotiation, it's leadership, it's all the things that convey to the business world. I just didn't recognize that in my 20s. And again, growing
Yeah.
up, coming from a family to where you're not a legacy kid, you're not going to an Ivy League school, you don't have somebody grooming you for these sort of executive positions or to work at a venture capital firm because your father does. It
Mhm.
was a portal into a world that I wasn't prepared for. I just didn't have experience to. But the gift that I learned in that job, the skill set helped me launch my first business, which was in the UK in 2015 or 2016. I'm getting old enough now to where time now is blending. I'm warping it. The memory's kind of
Mhm.
going a little bit. And
Welcome
so
to the
not having
club.
yeah, not having a business background, I learned a lot. I self-taught a lot of things, but it was the background of having the negotiation skill set and the interview skill set that really propelled me. I realized I could
And you,
sell anything to anyone.
yeah, you're really good at reading rooms. We're going to get to that. Your business that you started was, I want to make sure I get this right, a dog training business, right? That just exploded. Is that right?
Yes, it was a dog training business. People tend to spend money on two things: pets and kids, and you're never in short supply. And the business grew beyond my wildest dreams, and with that, I had a lot of demand. I didn't have enough supply. And it's a different topic for a different time. I also learned a very hard business lesson is I would rather not be able to meet the demand and have the right people and deliver quality than hire and scale quickly to try to meet it because you will make misses if you compromise rapid growth if your quality controls aren't in place.
That's really interesting. I remember when I started a new business with a few people, some friends that had worked with me in another business. And I gave my business partner, Chris, a brass teeter totter. And I said, well, now that you own your own business, this is your life. You're either going to be worried about where the next piece of business is coming from or how the hell are you going to get it done? And the dance is to keep that teeter totter balanced right in the middle. And it is really, really hard to do. Okay. So what surprised you about the similarities of, um, you know, interrogating and, trying to figure out who is telling the truth and what happens in a boardroom? What's similar about it and what's different for you?
I think that's a great question. I think there's a lot of similarities in the sense that everyone's human. Everyone has something to hide, and hide doesn't necessarily mean bad. Maybe somebody feels that they have imposter syndrome or they're not qualified to be there, yet they want to come across as seasoned or knowledgeable. Or somebody doesn't actually agree with one of the board members. Or they don't like you and they don't want to talk to you. So it's human behavior. Everyone's driven by something, and it's finding what drives that person. You can't directly ask them. It's not like you can say, "Hey, Mike, I really want to get you to a yes on this topic. So I want to understand what's going to motivate you to say yes to me." Like we can't. That'd be incredible if we could ask that question. So you have to do it subtly, and it's also paying attention to how they react and respond. All the subtle things about body language, because we are oozing out our answers, but most people aren't paying attention because they're either really thinking about how they want to respond to the question or what they want to talk about, and they're not paying attention across the room. So the similarities are very similar. People are human. Behavior is going to exist in whatever realm, whatever format it is. And it's just drawing out what you want from the person and getting them to basically work with you and having them be comfortable enough for them to share
Yeah.
what their feelings are, their thoughts are, their concerns.
I've always been attracted to WYSIWYGs. What you see is what you get, people who
Mhm.
can walk into the boardroom and behave exactly the same as they do at a dinner party, as they do at their kid's softball game or whatever. Um, and I think that I think people are naturally attracted to people who are just comfortable with themselves because it's almost like they have nothing to hide. So it's less work.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm remembering how we met, our mutual friend now, Brian Wish,
Hmm.
sent me a note on LinkedIn, and it was so genuinely human that I said, "Yeah, let's talk." And I just liked him immediately. And he was just a WYSIWYG, like
Hmm.
I didn't have to read. He was just himself. And he connected us. And I've noticed that when someone I really like says, "Oh, you should meet this person," I typically like them too. What about that?
Yeah.
Do you think dysfunction attracts more dysfunction? Or like, tell me about the most dysfunctional boardroom you've ever been in. Don't give me any names. What made it dysfunctional?
Uh, well, one, I do think like can attract like, so I do agree with you situationally that that can be true. Um, Without revealing any specifics of a boardroom, it's just the composition was wrong, and the composition was wrong because the chairman had seated the board with people who would say yes to whatever his
Hmm.
initiatives, drives, and wishes and wants were, and he held influence and power over those people, and it ruined friendships. It
Yeah.
made the board dysfunctional. And the board's purpose, right, is to enact decisions based on the well-being of the company, the corporation, a nonprofit, whatever it's set forth to do. It's supposed to be a steadfast, goodwill effort. And it was so dysfunctional because the leader seated it with cronies who
Yeah.
didn't really want to go his way but felt beholden. And seeing that, that's tough. And it's then
Well,
how do you fix it?
yeah, you're making me think of you're a member of Flourish Advisor Boards, and the six
Mhm,
seats are the operator, the strategist, the rainmaker, the
mhm.
visionary, the tech futurist, and the orchestrator. You're the orchestrator. The orchestrator, that's the seat you sit in, is the chameleon. If, by the way, if you're listening to this, if you have a flat Colby score, like 7,773, congratulations, you're an orchestrator. And the beauty of the orchestrator is that, first of all, they're the glue that keeps the team together. And the reason they are is because they're chameleons. They can feel and sense the pain and joy of everyone around the table. So I imagine that's part of your superhero power. You can be in a room, and I bet you it drives you crazy when you feel that kind of dysfunction from one person to another. Um, okay, and I should have set up that the reason you're in these boardrooms is because you're being hired to make teams better and to make them safer, specific to security. Let's talk about security for a second. Um, when CEOs think about security, they think about maybe like locks, cybersecurity, executive protection. I think you define it more broadly. How should leaders think about security?
I think security should be baked in, not bolted on to your personal and professional life. I mean, when you look at the world today, it's borderless. Social media, internet has just collapsed silos and walls. And when leaders post, especially depending on your position, like let's just take, we'll take like sort of an online thing. When you're posting in real time that you're traveling where your family is, because they want
Yeah.
that Instagram photo that they think looks just really incredible, and they want to get it out so everybody can see that they're on this great boat in the French Riviera. You know what you're
The
telling
house
that
is,
act? Yeah, your house is unattended.
yeah, I've
You know,
thought about that. I very rarely post real time because I'm like, and if I do, I say, my family's at home, but I'm here. The
because
dogs,
some of those,
yeah,
yeah, some of those things can wait, right? That's the thing. And but when you look at like what happened to a lot of NFL stars last year or professional, they may not be posting, but their schedule is publicly available. So some people, depending on their status, have publicly available schedules. And
oh,
so but their homes were broken into because precautions weren't taken, and family members could be home. I mean, that's what insurance is for in a sense. If you have a device stolen or some type electronic or money, like you can always recover those things. But personal treasures, family treasures, and if somebody's home lost a life, it's just not worth it. So safety is very important in the sense of it's not just having your iPhone locked with a passcode and having the appropriate IT people at your company. It's
Yeah.
everything you do.
Do you think is there are there any other risks that you think CEOs are increasing with their own behavior? Like you mentioned, posting when they're on. uh, Anything else that jumps to that we might not think about? Just our behavior is increasing our risk.
So I'm a big fan of not merging your personal and professional calendars because a lot of CEOs have executive assistants or they have teams that are coordinating their schedules. And
Yeah.
so when you do that, or a household manager, you're giving people access to all of your movements and probably your families and your whereabouts. So I
Huh.
think if you can limit them and also what you use, free services are free for a reason because they're
Yeah.
probably sucking your data and they're selling it. And with AI and with harvesting, like a big thing in quantum right now is harvest now, decrypt later, right? So quantum computing. And so think about all the things that are available. Bad actors, third party actors, criminals, they're taking all this publicly available data, they're downloading it, harvesting it, or they're buying it because you can buy third party data and they're completing profiles on you or on your family so they know how to get to you. So the
Yeah.
more you
One
can silo it or pay for privacy services, it's important.
my the tech futurist in your group, Alex Bratton,
Mhm.
another great CEO. He said once, "If you're not paying for the service, you are the service." Which I think is a
100%.
great way to think about giving your information away so for a free service. Okay, a CEO walks into the room, or a P&L leader, a president, some leader
Mhm.
walks in to the room. Um, what signals are you looking for? How do you assess them? Just what's the first thing you do?
How they walk in, do they greet people? Are they smiling? Like their body language. Do they just sit by themselves? Where do they
Yeah,
select the seat? It's just sort of that basic introductory of are they going in as greeting people, which is standard and common, or are they waiting to be greeted because they want people to come to them? Are they trying to make a power move or just be normal and just be professional? So just those initial things.
I'm remembering at GOT, we were out at MIT with this group that gathers every year, and you were sitting in the back of the room waiting for your turn to speak 2 days. I'm just like, man, she is a sponge. She knows more about the people in this room just sitting back there. Is there a myth about body language? Let me just ask you, what's the biggest myth about body language?
That any single movement would indicate deception. For example, people will say, "Oh, if your eyes look up and to the right or up and to the left, they must be lying." Not necessarily. Like I personally do that sometimes if I'm thinking or I'm trying to
Me
recall
too.
something or I
Hmm.
want to reflect to make sure that what I'm going to say is accurate.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking up a lie. I'm just trying to remember, is this accurate? Is this what I want? Or I'm taking a second. And so single points of behavior often don't indicate deception. It's actually clusters of behavior over time.
That's interesting. I just for the record, because now I have to tell you, I've written a bunch of questions. So if I look to the right, I'm looking for another question, just so you know.
Oh,
I'm not
I'm just
lying.
going to think you're lying. I'm just going to think you're lying. That's it. Don't
Damn
worry. It's
it!
fine.
I knew it.
It's, it's totally fine.
Okay, so is there you might have already mentioned this, but is there some kind of nonverbal communication that instantly changes the way people perceive you?
Uh, I think if you're meeting people for the first time or if something's tense, if you can seem approachable and you seem human. Again, it's something you mentioned about the connection with Brian, right? It seemed authentic and genuine.
Hmm.
When
Yeah,
people feel a little bit of warmth and humility from somebody else, it draws them in. If they
Yeah.
feel rigidity or somebody seems a little arrogant, you're going to be standoffish to them. That's just a normal thing.
I hesitate to mention this because I'm asking for it, but you know the Benjamin Franklin rule where he realized that if he asked for help from his enemies, they liked him more because there's this cognitive dissonance. I'm
Mhm.
surprised by how few people ask for help from from business people. You know, like if a young person sends me a note and say, "Hey, can you help me with something?" I typically say yes. I mean, because I don't want to
Yeah.
be a jerk. But everyone's like, "Hey, I can help you. I can help you," and it's like, you know what? I didn't ask for help. So it puts me off. I mean, it's usually you're reminding me of a story. We were working with a Fortune 100 company, and we'd done a bunch of research. And we had a new person working with us, and he went into the boardroom to present this, and he grabbed his crotch like while he was presenting, and he didn't know he was doing it. So the first time we kind of looked at each other like, but like the fifth or the sixth time he did it, like he had this unconscious move, like a Michael Jackson crotch grab. And afterwards, can you imagine how embarrassing it was to confront this guy and go, he's like, I thought that went pretty well. We're like, dude, you're grabbing your crotch. He had no idea. So I don't know why I'm telling you that story, but it came to mind. Body language. What's the biggest myth about body language?
Well, for that
Crotch.
story, I would say thank you for sharing, but no, I keep that story to yourself forever. Okay, just vault that story.
All
Yeah,
right, yeah.
yeah.
That's what vulnerability looks like, Molly. That's
I
trust.
know.
Okay, I
I
trust
know.
you.
And look at me. I'm shattering it right now.
Have you ever changed your opinion completely about someone based on something they didn't say to you, like they should have said?
Sure, all the time. You
Yeah.
know, I think when I look at even modern day, and to go back to something you mentioned, is I think when people ask for help and it's genuine, most people are willing to give help if they view it as authentic. Even if they maybe don't care for the person or the
Yeah.
person that they're asking, maybe if it's not a smooth relationship, human nature is innate that we actually will help to a degree. And I
Mhm.
think there's levels of help, right, that people are willing to offer. But when somebody just unsolicited, and I think that's probably what you get a lot, I do too. I get, oh, basically unsolicited, your website sucks, Molly. Like, we can help you fix it for this. And I'm like, well, thank you very much. I'd also like to help you with your grammar and the tremendous amount of typos for your unsolicited contact towards me. So yeah. So I think it's just the lens of which it's asked for, and so
Yeah. I think
unsolicited,
that's
solicited. It's the origin of the ask.
and
Um,
and I that I've seen very mature and seasoned business people afraid to ask because they're servant leaders and they feel like uh, their job is to help people, not ask that, not to burden them with their own issues. And I think it's a miss. I do. Let's talk about negotiation because this feels
mhm.
like a good transition. Um, uh, you teach interrogation techniques, but isn't that sounds intimidating? But isn't great interrogation the same thing as like negotiation? Isn't it all about asking better questions?
It's completely the same. It's just different wording, so it's absolutely the same.
Did you have
Yeah.
when did you realize that? Like when did that occur to you? Like when you could sell anything to anyone, was that it? Is that how the light bulb went on?
So I think, when I was in the thick of it, so I'm going through training with the government, and then, you have after training, you have an assessment period. So to make sure that you're ready, that you're certified, and all of that takes about a year, right? And that's a year of your sessions being reviewed and you're critiqued. And look, if you couldn't take feedback before, you can definitely take it after that because you are torn apart. And it's never when you come out like, Molly, you did such a good job in these 8 areas. Here's 2 for you to consider of like improving. It's like, wow, you missed the boat on those 2. Like, I'm surprised you didn't blow it. So very different type of learning, which, I mean, this was years ago, right? I think probably a little softer now and a little bit more refined and reframed, which is fantastic. I think I
Uh,
realized it more so as I moved up in the government and then when I was starting my own business, because the skills are the same. It's understanding what your customer or what your client, what their true need is. Because what they may say isn't actually what they want. And so it's being able to cut through that, but then have a conversation again of needs versus wants, what it is, and then having them understand and trust you enough that they want to do business with you. Because people do
yeah,
business with who they know, like, and trust. And
yeah.
and again, that's a skill.
I want to talk about trust because I think it's so fundamental to everything. But before we go there, um, you reminded me of the power of silence. Talk about that when it comes to negotiation. For someone that talks way too much, me, silence is such a great tool, and the best negotiators I've ever worked with seem to be able to just bite their tongue. Say, what do you think?
I think silence is a skill that if anybody can learn and master, it'll pay you back in spades.
Why?
Most people are uncomfortable with silence. It personally makes them uncomfortable. And so people just can't wait to fill it with something, even if it's nonsense. They will fill the air to not feel uncomfortable, to have a distraction. If you can use it, you can ask a question or wait for the response and actually sit. You're learning two things. You're observing them because again, what's going to be leaking out nonverbally is going to tell you a lot. And when they start to speak, because they will start to speak, you're going to hear either an excuse come out or you're going to hear the actual reason. Whatever, whichever way it is, because it depends. It's going to give you a place to go. And you've kind of not to make it about a power play, but you have sort of regained a little control in the room because you have displayed self-restraint. You're not trying to fill it, and you come across as the more confident of the two in
Yeah,
general.
my experience has been that it is much harder for certain types of leaders to keep their mouths shut. Like yours truly, visionaries tend to take up a lot of oxygen, but operators and strategists, I've seen great operators walk into a room and begin an executive meeting like this. Okay, what do you all think we should stop doing immediately? And that's the last thing they say for an hour. And they just sit there and listen to people fill the space with all the waste of time, all the things that the company's wasting time on. It's absolutely brilliant. Man, I wish I could do more of that.
You
Um,
can.
thank you for the encouragement, Molly.
You're welcome.
Old dog, new tricks. Any risks that CEOs that are keeping CEOs awake at night that they shouldn't be worried about?
They should not be worried about.
Yeah, like things they're worrying about that you wouldn't.
I think it's probably a personal question. Again, I'm going to go back to your thing about trust. I think if you're leading your personal and your professional life with trust and with integrity, the things that you can control, if you're controlling it, you're fine. But if you're doing things that you don't want brought to light or to the surface, that's a sliding scale. And,
Yeah.
time tends to prove never in our favor for a lot of things.
Do you think if you were going to coach me on I want people to trust me. What is it that makes people trust someone? What are the like foundational things that make go, yeah, I trust that guy?
Vulnerability is the first thing that comes to my mind. When we show who we are,
Mhm.
and invulnerability doesn't have to be, I've told you all of my family's saga and drama, every ailment, every medication I'm on. Like, it doesn't have to be something like that, but you share a concern or a fear or something where people see you as a human being. I think that drives connection. When you feel connected to somebody, you are more likely to help them, to get to know them, to spend time. If you feel somebody is inauthentic or disingenuous, or they want to get to know you so they can use you for whatever their purpose is, you're going to be your guard's going to be up. So I think just
Yeah.
that vulnerability is huge.
And just connecting your last point about the way people are living their lives, I think when people admit that they're flawed, like, oh man, I am just so messed up here. I'm remembering, there's the PR who says, tell the truth, tell it early, tell it often, tell it immediately, or whatever, if you mess up. I trust people that quickly admit, like, oh man, that did not go well. I didn't handle that well. I
Yeah.
should have done better. But I think as leaders, we tend to want to, at least as a younger leader, I didn't want to talk about my mistakes. I didn't want to seem flawed. And the older I get, the more ready I am to say, oh, that did not work out the way I thought it would. Um, so I trust people like that. Do you think trust is going to be uh, is it going to become more important as AI and everything else? Like the is it a valuable competitive advantage, and is it becoming more valuable over time, do you think?
So yes, and I would say trust will be more important with AI as it grows. I also think human connection is going to be incredibly important as we go into a more of an AI world where we have AI agents, we have bots, we have all these things. Like if the pandemic didn't prove when people are isolated, not great things happened, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, because humans need connection. It drives us. And when we're siloed off, we lose the ability to interact in a diplomatic way. We lose the art of civility, the art of just having a hard conversation that doesn't have to devolve into a fight or to something dramatic. And so, more and more, as we have these systems, which can do great things, being truthful and having the connections, I think it's only going to increase. We're
yeah.
just seeing the
A-
beginnings of it.
Amen. That's something as a parent that I'm very concerned about. I think about that a lot because there's so much distraction. You can go down a digital rabbit hole, and 3, 4 hours go by, and you think you're with people, and you're not.
Yeah.
Is there an AI enabled threat executives aren't paying it enough attention to that you can see coming?
There's a lot of things that are being built right now using AI of like how to detect body language, how to detect whether somebody's being truthful or not, with language. All of those things, like, it sounds great, but when you test them over time, it's just not there yet. And
Yeah,
also, yeah, and just not to spend too much time, but just to pull the thread a little bit, because it has to factor in cultural differences, dialect differences, rate and speech change differences, and all the things that, like, it's not a one size fits all. But do I think that there will be tools that will mature over time? How could there not be? But just nothing is there yet that I would say this is the product or this is the service to do. It's too early and the
yeah,
fail rate's too high.
yeah. I tend to. I, okay, awesome. So yeah, second guess when AI tells you something is happening and it isn't. How much do you rely on AI anymore? Do you what per you must be somewhat cynical about AI, um, bullish or bearish on AI, just in general.
In the middle, because I think that there's a lot of hype about it,
Yeah,
but I also think that there's a lot of utility. And again, it's how it's built, right? When you look at companies who are using it, if they're using a large language model and how they're building their containers, if your data lake is built in such a way where you know that the information is verified and accurate, and then you're using it to pull from that, fantastic. Think of like employee handbook manuals, training manuals, things that you know to be true and are accurate. If it's cutting down a search of, if it says, Mike, what would you like to know today? And it's like, oh, I'd like
right.
to know my annual leave policy. And it pulls straight from there. So you can find it. I think fantastic. But if it's telling you, I mean, I use AI to look up stuff. Half the time it's right, half the time it's wrong. It's a
Yeah,
crapshoot. I still have to go to the source. 'Cause it's pulling from the entire web, and the entire web does not have accurate information. So it depends on the lake and container in which it's built.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yesterday, reconnected with a friend of mine that I hadn't talked to in 20 years in Sri Lanka. And we were catching up, and he's like, "Yeah, who are the guys that started Rackspace? And they were part of our class. Who were they?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't remember." So I went to AI, and it gave me three names, one of which was someone that did not start Rackspace. He's a friend
See?
of mine. So I sent him a note, and I'm like, "Hey, congratulations on starting a company you didn't start. The robots think you started Rackspace." So I love the data lake metaphor. Um, okay, so if you are a an entrepreneur, you are someone that gets hired to build better teams, to build more secure teams. You're a security expert. If every CEO listening changed just one behavior tomorrow, what would create the biggest improvement based on your expertise?
One thing is that they changed for their
Wh-
teams, like for their business or their personal.
What, it doesn't matter. If you like, I know it's a big question, but like based on what I know, here's one thing you should change tomorrow that would make the biggest improvement and fill in the blank at home or fill in the blank at work.
Transparency. And why I say that, when I look at companies, like if they have like emergency action plans or like whatever their plan is, if a disaster strikes, right? And most people don't have a home plan. There's not transparency because to talk about those things and to look at them, it's negative and it scares people, right? Because you're saying, what if tragedy strikes or disaster? And so they
Yeah.
push it off, they ignore it versus saying, let's do a deep dive on this. Like, let's make sure our house is in order and really do this. And in order to do it, you have to have full transparency across the board. But most people themselves aren't willing to do that because it's scary. I mean,
Yeah.
and I recognize that.
I asked you to come and
Hmm.
speak to the different flourish groups about EAPs. And
Hmm.
before you mentioned EAPs, I'm like, what's an EAP? So,
Hmm.
an emergency action plan. What are a couple things that would be involved in an emergency action plan? Just a couple few of them.
Yeah, so some basics are if your comms are knocked out, which are most people's cell phones, right? How are
Hmm.
you going to communicate with somebody else? Do you have redundant comms? Right. And so if your cell tower is knocked out, how are you gonna do it? And so
Interesting.
is there another way? Rally points. If you cannot get back to your office, if you can't get to your home, where's the agreed upon rally point that you're meeting with your family or your colleagues to make sure that people are okay? And then access
Interesting.
to funds and medicine. People have certain medical needs where they need consistent care, and medicine is crucial to their daily life sustainment. So do you have access to those things, and are they available in the event something happens?
Yeah. I've talked to a couple friends that have tens of thousands of dollars, literally dollars,
Hmm.
stowed away. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm preparing. If something happens, I'm going to need cash. And they're smarter than me, I guess. Um, do you have a go bag, Molly?
I do.
What's in your go bag? What kind of stuff do you put in a go bag?
So in a go bag for me, it would be
Wait, you should
coffees.
define what a go bag is because
Okay.
I didn't know what this was until my son said, I got a go bag. I'm like, what's a go bag? What's a go bag?
So a go bag is if you have, or sometimes it's called a bug out bag, meaning if you
Okay.
have to leave a place very quickly, just you have to go and that's the only thing you can take, that's what's coming with you. So
Okay.
in mine, cash, copies of my passports. And so, I mean, you could put the passports themselves in them if you don't keep them in a safe or a safe area.
Uh-huh.
Medicine, enough water packets. So if you have to distill water, and basically food that's non perishable, just some basic things to get out.
Wow.
And you
Amazing.
should have like in band-aids, like just basic medical care if you need.
Yeah. Uh,
And tens of thousands of dollars like your friend. No.
yeah.
But
Like me, my tagline is what could possibly go wrong, which is the wrong attitude when when disaster strikes, I guess. Okay. How about some rapid fire questions?
yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Gut instinct or data?
Gut instinct.
Of course. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
How do you take your coffee?
Blackened with cream.
All right. Just like Tina. Negotiation or interrogation?
Negotiation.
Here's a harder one for you. Biggest leadership myth.
That leaders know it all and have all the answers. We don't.
First thing you notice when you enter a room.
The exits.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that. Do you sit in a room? Are you like part of the mafia where you have to have a view of the door?
Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. I'm just more concerned of where the exits are. And you could
Yeah,
also make the argument that if your back is to the door and you have to get out and that's the only door, you're the closest person to the door.
yeah. Yeah, interesting. Instinctively, I need to see who's coming in the room for some reason. Um, Most underrated leadership trait.
Empathy.
This is why we like each other. Do you have a book that you think every CEO should read?
Uh, I can tell you the book that I use the most, Give and Take by Adam Grant. I think that is a phenomenal book because he talks
Awesome.
about givers, matchers, and takers. And if you read it in all facets of life, it's applicable.
Give and Take by Adam Grant. Thank you for that.
And then my
I have
second
not.
thing would be any book written by Mike Maddock, of course.
All right, come on. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm writing Give and Take down because now I'm going to read that.
Hmm.
Give me 1 second. Give and Take, Adam Grant. Do
Hmm.
you know Adam Grant? He owes you a commission.
I don't know him personally.
I have not met him. Okay. If your career had a title, what would it be?
Holy shit, I can't believe she succeeded.
That's my title. You can't. All
Well,
right.
sorry.
I'll tell you what. I'll be the VP of Holy Shit. I can't believe you succeeded. You could be the president. Um, okay. So you spent your career helping people recognize risks that they don't or can't see. What's one blind spot you believe almost every successful CEO has, but very few recognize until it's too late?
That I think that could be more successful than they know that they can be if they just asked for help, to go back to what you're saying. Like, we do great things as teams. And if we let
Yeah.
people in, what we can accomplish together would be just incredible. I think that's a misstep I see pretty often.
Well, Molly, I am so grateful that we're friends. I feel safer having you as a friend. So thank you. And I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me today.
Of course, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right. Everybody call Molly and have her come and tell you how to be more safe in the world. She's awesome. Thanks, Molly.
Thank you.